We had no identification that we were United States soldiers, and we were without the benefit of the Geneva protections.
For the people today, I think what they need to do is, if you really want to run the mission, get all the training you can possibly get.
Live from the second annual Stars and Stripes Classic, I sat down with Doug Godshall and Jim Shorten, two veterans of the MACV-SOG era, to honor their service, preserve their stories, and remind today's Green Berets what courage, sacrifice, and innovation truly mean.
MACV-SOG had the highest casualty rate of any U.S. Army units.
Doug, Jim, welcome to the Jedburgh podcast.
Thank you, sir.
Thanks for the invite.
It's an honor. So we're here at the second annual Stars and Stripes Classic lacrosse game sponsored by the PLL, where we're going to pit our Green Berets against the Navy SEALs as they take the field here in a couple hours under the lights tonight. But the Green Beret Foundation and the Green Beret team is here not only to play the game, but I would say more importantly to honor our Vietnam veterans, those who came before us in the MACV-SOG unit. You each served in that unit, and for decades, close to 50 years, this has been a part of our history, a part of our lineage as Green Berets that we haven't spoken enough about, that we haven't, for a variety of different reasons, classification, folks, who just weren't approached the way that they have been in the GWAT era. But this was an organization that really set the foundation for what modern day Green Berets look like. Came 20 years after our founders from the Jedburgh teams who went on to form the regiment. And you and your brothers and your fellow Green Berets and all the support assets who participated in that mission are owed a debt of gratitude for the service that you gave your country and all of us and set the example for all of us. So
Thank you very much.
it's an honor to be here with you. But we got to start by defining MACV-SOG. What was it and what were they doing in Vietnam?
MACV-SOG was designed by the Pentagon with the assistance of the State Department to put reconnaissance teams over the border from Vietnam into North Vietnam, Laos, and Cambodia to infiltrate and combat the movement of troops and supplies down the Ho Chi Minh Trail. President Johnson publicly said we don't want no wider war, and we were banned from going outside of South Vietnam. But this unit was specially designed to do undercover work over the fence. When we participated in reconnaissance operations, we did not wear name tags. We did not wear dog tags. We had no identification that we were United States soldiers, and we were without the benefit of the Geneva protections. We generally ran in 10-man teams, 3 Americans and 7 indigenous, whether they be South Vietnamese, Nungs, Montagnards. And we also ran company-sized operations called the Hatchet Force. And I operated in both of those capacities as a recon man and as the first sergeant of a recon force. We are operating from about 1964 to 1971-72. MACV-SOG had the highest casualty rate of any U.S. Army unit since the Civil War. In 1968 and 69, where I was there, we averaged some months 50% KIAs and 100% WIAs. Teams went out over the fence and disappeared. Our intelligence operations were governed by the Pentagon. Occasionally, we've been told that the Secretary of Defense was interested in a mission, or the State Department was. And in some capacity, our ability to bring fire upon the enemy was limited under the direction of the ambassador to Laos, a guy named Sullivan. Sometimes we had to call up to a plane circling in the night, a Blackbird, to receive permission to put some ordnance on the enemy.
We did linear recon missions, point recon missions. We did going in to get pilots or people that were killed in the field, and we'd go out get their bodies out. And that's about it. There's probably a few other types of missions. Anything that came up, we'd run out and do them. And I ran a 7-man team. I had 5 Montagnards, and 1 other American myself.
Well, so you both mentioned your MACV-SOG's requirement, I will call it a requirement, but their partnership with indigenous forces.
Correct.
The motto of the Green Berets, Deo Preso Liber, the that puts partnership with indigenous forces at the foundation of what we do. The
Absolutely.
unconventional warfare aspect of what we do is critical to our core foundational mission. Talk about those partner forces. Who were they and why were they so important for you to partner with, and what was their capability levels?
There were several groups, mainly the Montagnards. There were different Montagnard tribes. I worked with the Bru. There was the Rade, some others. We also had some Chinese Nungs, which were Chinese origin, and occasionally some Cambodian troops. We were very dedicated to the Montagnards because they were discriminated against by the Vietnamese people. They were mountain people. They did not benefit from any civilization, and we trained them up and trained their families up and treated their families well, and they were terrific soldiers.
Yeah, we pretty much just trained them, clothed them, and paid them. And when we weren't on our mission, we always trained. We trained each day, and one of the things I found out about a lot of the Montagnards is that they were there for many years, and they worked with other teams before I got there. So they were very good. They were well trained, and I learned a lot from them as well.
Yeah.
We had some Vietnamese as well. Last year at our reunion in Las Vegas, we brought back Swan, who was then Lieutenant Beret's team leader, Vietnamese team leader. Ken Beret, as you know, later became Major General, commander of the 5th Group, and commander of the Special Warfare Center, SWIC. He was a team leader, or 1-0. And we went back to Vietnam, and we brought him and his wife to Las Vegas to our reunion, and we're bringing them again to Las Vegas. We owe a great debt of gratitude to our indigenous partners. We wouldn't be alive but for our indigenous partners.
So you spoke about the fact that at times you had up to 50% KIA and 100% wounded in action.
Correct.
How do you do that? How do you get through that?
Our teams were sent into very hot AOs. The first mission I had, which lasted 5 days, was the first time that any team had stayed in that AO for more than a night. On the 5th day, we're awaiting our R1 position, and we got overrun. That was 1 week after the disaster at Da Nang on 23 August 68, when we lost 16 Green Berets, 50 more wounded, when we were overrun by North Vietnamese sappers, who knew exactly what we were doing there on the beaches of South China Sea at Da Nang at FOB4. They knew we were exfiltrating into the Ho Chi Minh Trail and knocking out their communications and trying to bring ordnance on their troops. And they knew exactly what they were doing when they attacked us on 23 August 68. So just in that week itself, when I was overrun a week later on my first mission, we lost 16 Green Berets at Da Nang. We lost Stan Seating in my first mission. Teams went out and didn't come back. They were overrun upon landing. It was extremely hazardous.
Was their intel that much better?
The Vietnamese War was highlighted by a lot of enemy infiltration into our ranks. We think at SOG headquarters in Saigon that there were NVA spies or VC spies. It's very difficult to tell who was the enemy and who was the friend in the Vietnam War, and there were multiple intelligence failures. Our job was to collect intelligence on the Ho Chi Minh Trail as Americans, report back to Saigon and to the State Department and the Defense Department in Washington.
I remember when the CCC was overrun over in Khartoum, when the enemy came into the camp there, they captured one of the guys, and he actually came in through the sewer system 3 times, scoping out the whole area, mapping it out, and went out. And then when they hit it, I wasn't in the camp when it got hit. I was out on the field on a mission when it happened. But I don't think any Americans were killed, but they got pretty much all the bad guys.
One of the interesting pieces, because I know the Green Beret Foundation is interested in recovering some of our remains, and the whole millions of soldiers who served in Vietnam, there's only 1,500 that are missing. But of that 1,500, 150 or 10% were missing because of SOG missions. And of those 150, 50 were our recon guys, our Green Berets, but 100 were our Air Force partners who died trying to find our Green Berets and bring them back. We have been working very hard with the DPA and Defense Department to recover the wounded. We applaud the Green Beret Foundation for joining in this effort to finding some more remains and bringing them back home. One of the most heartwarming things we've done in Special Operations Association is to attend the funerals of the remains of those our friends who were decades. The remains were staying in Vietnam, but they've been brought back home. Thank you again, the Green Beret Foundation, for joining in this effort.
Well, that's one of the big initiatives that we have over the course of the next, as long as it takes. And we had a chance a little bit earlier to sit down with the Green Beret Foundation President and CEO, Charlie Iacono, and then our partners from Project Recover, who we'll be working on this initiative with. And I asked the question about timeline, and rightfully they said there's no timeline. Right. It's going to take as long as it takes, and we're going to go back as many times as is required. And it's not just about one, it's about all 58 who are still missing.
And we've had several of our members, the SOA, our late Vice President Mike and Cliff Newman, former president of the SOA, former executive director of the SFA. They've gone on missions themselves to places where we think the remains might be.
You both came into special operations during the war, but you had to make the choice to join the regiment. Apply for assessment and selection. In each of your own perspectives, why did you want to be a Green Beret? And Jim, you were doing some stuff before that. I think you came over to the bright side from the dark side.
Well, I served in the Navy for 4 years before I went into the Army. And I
hope you're rooting for the right team today.
Yeah. Well, when I was in the Navy, I spent 22 months in Da Nang, driving trucks and working with forklifts and what have you, splicing cables. And towards the end there, I worked with the UDT guys, the underwater demolition teams. What they did is if we dropped the bomb in the water, they would come and go down, and I'd lower the cables, they'd pick them up, and we'd get it out and stuff like that. But I noticed these guys were going out on missions because I'd go to the chow hall once in a while. I see them walking there all bandaged up and what have you. So I figured, I'm going to go be a Navy SEAL. And then that song came out from Barry Saddle, only 3 out of 100 make the beret, and I'm going, I could do that.
So the Green Beret.
Yeah, so I got out of the Navy and took my battery test as a civilian and went straight into Special Forces, went from basic to advanced infantry, jump school, up to Bragg, and from Bragg went straight back to Vietnam and stayed there.
What about you, Doug?
My mother gave me Barry the book, The Green Berets, by Mr. Moore in Christmas of 1963 or 64, and I was sold. That's what I wanted to be. Robin Moore, who was very important with the Green Berets, with the regiment after the war. As you know, he donated a lot of money for the Chapter 38 team house and very active. So that's what I wanted to do. I dropped out of college with the idea of going to Vietnam, went to infantry school, airborne school, passed this SF qualification test, joined training group, and then myself and 2 other guys were called to the dispensary, Mike Morehouse and Bill Brick, and they said, you wear glasses. How could you be in Special Forces? You could be behind enemy lines with these glasses. I said, well, I've managed all these years. I take action. We got thrown out of training group. So the 3 of us went to Vietnam together. We wanted to go to Vietnam. And when we were at the replacement unit, Benoit, a first lieutenant in the Green Berets, came up and said, you guys still want to be in Special Forces? We said, absolutely. Took us to the Trang, did the 3-week combat orientation course. That's how we wound up in MACV-SOG. It was a very strange trip, but worthwhile.
Our Vietnam generation post-service has really operated across the entire spectrum of what life looks like for a veteran post-service. We've had a large percentage of our Vietnam veterans have left service and they've gone in and built corporate careers in the private sector. They've led a lot of our government. I mean, the post-Vietnam service in as congressmen and senators was tremendous, led by John McCain being one of the most famous ones. And some members who still serve today in Congress after the Vietnam War. And a lot of industry has been built by Vietnam veterans. But we've also seen Vietnam veterans be almost the poster child for dysfunction in the VA,
Right.
the crisis in the VA healthcare system, the overwhelming of the VA healthcare system. And a lot of times, even as a GWAT generation, you can go into a VA hospital and still see Vietnam veterans with mental health challenges, physical challenges. When you look back on the transition from the military post the war, what was your experience?
I had a very good experience. I had a wonderful family and friends. The night I came home from Vietnam, there were 22 houses on our block. Everyone was there to see me. I'd grown up there. None of the dads went to work the next day. They drank too much. We partied till 3:30 in the morning. When I got out of the Army, I drove from Fort Bragg back to Philadelphia. This was my home, and started college the next day after I was discharged. Went to college, went to law school, met my beautiful wife, Kathy, over there, and had a great career as a trial lawyer. I'm now a mediator. But I had friends who had lots of problems. And they were caused primarily because our generation, not just us, but our parents and so forth, were troubled by the Vietnam War. For instance, many of us went into American Legions or VFW halls. They didn't want us there. We were the losers. They were the World War II guys in the 1970s. So even the VFW, the American Legion, made mistakes, and they realized it and changed their ways. I remember going to a bar meeting when I was a young lawyer, and I realized maybe 10 years after I was out of the service, I was not only the only lawyer who had been in the service, I was the only one who went to Vietnam and the only one who got shot at. So it was popular in our generation to escape the duty in Vietnam by lying to the selective service or getting married or going to graduate school. So our generation wasn't supportive. I'm very proud to say that as I sit here today, starting 20 years after our service, mainly because of the GWAT warriors, mainly because of the Gulf War warriors, the Special Forces and Special Operations is highly held, high level of respect in our country. I have many people come and said, geez, I'm sorry, we should have been nicer to you. We should have been more appreciative. I said, let's just go forward. Let's appreciate the veterans that are out there today that need some help.
You went a different direction. You went to another service. Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, when I came back from the 5th Group, I joined the 12th Reserve Group, and I was on A314 of the 12th Group, and it became an underwater operations detachment. So the whole team went down to scuba school, and we came back. At that time, I was a police officer in San Jose, California. So, but when I came back, I had a hard time dealing with a lot of the, a lot of the people that would lean too far to the left. So, but, it didn't bother me, but the thing was, it bothered them who I was. But, after that, I was training the Air Force pararescue guys and submachine guns and night vision devices one day. And, I didn't know who they were, and they saved a lot of our butts in Vietnam, but I had no idea what PJs were. So, they told me to come on down to their place. I went down, and I was shocked with their equipment and what they were doing rescues every week. When there's no war, Green Berets, it kind of gets boring, So I went through pararescue training and became a PJ with the 129th out in California. Did a lot of rescues with them, and I loved it. I loved every minute of it. So I'd still be in if they'd let me.
But that's still not it. So because you were in the Navy, then you became a Green Beret, served in the Army, you joined the Air Force, served as a PJ, and then you became a doctor.
Yeah, then I went to school and became a doctor.
Because it wasn't hard enough yet.
Oh, well, I'm one of those guys that likes to continue learning. But yeah, I did finish my doctorate thing, and I went ahead and went to 3-year residency in radiology out in St. Louis. And the fortunate thing there is I'm not far from Mallinckrodt Institute of Radiology. It was one of the top places in the world for radiology. So I used to attend to a lot of their meetings and everything. So, and then I went back out to Arizona and opened up a radiology suite when I was there. So then I retired from that.
And is there another one?
Well, I went on to become a meteorite hunter. So I go out and hunt for meteorites now.
He's the most interesting guy I've met in the special operations. So Jim's endlessly fascinating.
Yeah, I just love it. And they booted me out of pararescue because I got injured parachuting, but I still skydived after that.
Really?
So, yeah. Made my last jump in 2002, I think it was.
And what happened?
You mean from my injury?
Yeah.
Oh, I got
Yeah,
thrown out of a
parachute.
helicopter. When I was in Vietnam, I got thrown out of a helicopter about 25 feet. And I didn't know it, but I broke my back in 2 places and I opened up my SI joint. And I didn't even know it. I just hung around, and about a month later, I was back running missions. And when I got injured parachuting, I was jumping. It was up in the mountains. It was at night, jumping into the Sierra Madre up there, and it was frozen ground. And when I hit the ground, I got hurt. So when I came back, I noticed I was having a hard time running. I used to run 5 miles every morning around the airstrip at Moffett, and the guy said, "Look, if you don't go to the doc, we're going to carry you there." So I went to the doc, and he goes, "You ever hurt yourself before?" I go, "No." I go, "Why?" He goes, "Well, you got a bunch of old fractures." I go, "Oh." I said, "I got thrown out of a helicopter once." He goes, "That's it." So they took me off jump status, and they gave me a medical, and I got out.
Wow. When you look back on your career in special forces and the various branches of the military, what are the lessons that you take forward in terms of leadership and the ability to inspire others and build a team?
You can never train up enough, number one. Number two, I think one of the things that separates us from other soldiers is we never give up. You just keep going and keep going and keep going and keep going, no matter what the challenges are. Try to be the best teammate you can. Look to your left, look to your right. Help your mates, get the mission done. If you can't get it done today, get it done tomorrow. Keep going.
I agree with all that. And yeah, just, you can be anything you want to be. Just put one foot in front of the other. If there's a mountain in the way, just either go through it or around it or whatever. But you can be whatever you want to be if you put your mind to it.
So we're at an inflection point within our ranks, within the regiment right now. We have an entire generation from the GWAT who came in post 9/11 days or shortly there before, and they're coming up on retirement. A lot of the number of folks I served with and came in with in 2003 have already retired, and so the rest of them are in senior leadership positions now, and we have a lot of folks now within the ranks who haven't been to combat. They don't have the experience that some of us had when we came over to special forces. Like my peers and I had already been to Iraq or Afghanistan maybe once, twice. I had a year as an infantry platoon leader in Iraq before I even went to assessment and selection. And so there's a younger generation that's coming in, and they're fit, they're smart, they're ready to get after it. To your point, Jim, there's not a lot going on right now. There is some stuff going on, and they're getting involved, and Doug, they're certainly training. What's your message to that next generation?
Well, from Jedburgh to GWAT, we're incredibly impressed by the service of others. In the Vietnam era, Eldon Bargewell, Billy Waugh, Colonel Siglob, later General Siglob. But today's GWAT soldiers are smarter, they're better trained, they're stronger, and they're going to be better special forces operators, special operators than we are. I continue to be impressed when I visit the groups, when I visit the 5th and the 3rd, to talk to the guys who served 14 deployments. I know the young guys want to get at it, but we're having the GWAT guys on our board too. We're bringing on board the G3 at USSOC, Scott White. We're bringing on the board retired Brigadier Doug Paul. We have on our foundation board General Beret, who spans the time from MACV-SOG through GWAT. We're going to have Mark Mitchell is on our foundation board. Mark Mitchell was the first winner of a DSC since the Vietnam War when he led the horse soldiers. So I think the modern GWAT soldier has a lot of history to look back on, and they're going to be better soldiers and better servers, better sources of inspiration for our company than we were. I give them all the credit in the world. They're doing a great job.
I think for the people today, I think what they need to do is, if you really want to run the mission, get all the training you can possibly get. Fight for that training. If you want to go to Halo, combat diver, make yourself valuable. And when a mission comes up, they're going to call on you.
Here in a few minutes, we're going to head inside the stadium. And as the Stars and Stripes game kicks off, you're going to be honored. You're going to be honored for your service. You're going to be recognized for the example that you've set for all of us who came after you. What's that feel like?
We're here for others. We've always been here for others. We're here for you and all our citizens, and we're glad that you're honoring us, but you're honoring you and the rest of the regiment as well. We're not special. We were just there at a time when things were happening. We thank you very much, but we serve for you, sir.
Yeah, it's all those guys that didn't come home. I think that's the a little over 50% of us were killed and all wounded and stuff. And it's for those guys.
Thank you.
Well, thank you. And I know that we're going to embark. This is kind of the kickoff of our coverage of the MACV-SOG mission and our dedication and our ability to remember them, hopefully bring some home. But we're going to spend, as we said, as long as it takes, really starting to dive into this story, really starting to tell it. Now that there's more about it that we can talk about, there's been declassification over the last couple of years. We've been in coordination with our partners at USASOC and the historian's office, who are very excited about being able to really start to share more and more about the efforts of you and your teammates out there. We really look forward to being able to do that over the course of the next year, probably several years, whatever it's going to be, and starting to get our team out there from the Jedburgh podcast and the Jedburgh Media Channel and the Green Beret Foundation to sit down with yourselves again, get into each of your individual stories, and really get out to as many others as we can to start to let our ranks today know about the impact that you had, and let society know. And so that's our mission. That's our promise to you, that we'll continue to tell this story, and we'll make sure that the world knows the impact that you made. And from my generation and the foundation, thank you so much for everything that you've done.
Thank you, sir. Dio Presley Burr, and I hope you can come to Fort Campbell on September 21st when we dedicate the memorial to all the Green Berets who died in Vietnam. Most of them were MACV-SOG guys. I hope you can come there. It would be a very special day. Thank you.
All right.
Yeah, thank you very
much.
much.
Have to plan that trip. So, thank you.
Thank you.
American Jedburghs went on to form the foundation of the United States Special Forces and the Special Activities Directorate of the Central Intelligence Agency. Thanks for listening to the Jedburgh Podcast, an official program of the Green Beret Foundation. I'm your creator and host, Fran Rachopi. Join us next week for a new episode on Apple, Spotify, or wherever you get your podcasts. Check us out on YouTube for full episodes, highlights, and other long and short form content. If you like what you heard, give us a like and leave a review. Follow the Jedburgh Podcast and the Green Beret Foundation on LinkedIn, Instagram, Facebook, X, or Threads. Send your comments and inquiries to fran@jedburghpodcast.com. As former members of Special Operations Forces, the Jedburgh Media Channel and the Green Beret Foundation remain committed to supporting all generations of U.S. Army Special Forces and their families. Thanks for joining us on this episode. How you prepare today determines success tomorrow.